Hello and welcome to Center for Victory's podcast of Your Best Day Yet. At Center for Victory, we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. I am Eric Guy, Chief Victory Officer at the Center for Victory, here with one of my favorites, Miss Jodi Slein, and she is going to be talking about, all month we've been talking about Vision 2020, and she's someone I've been around, known her family for a long, long time. And she's going to talk to us a little bit about parental vision, how she's had vision. But first, we're going to jump into her story and how important that was for them to have it as a family, and what she's done, and really being what I would consider one of the super moms out there. I don't know if she'll take that compliment, but you definitely are. I have great appreciation for you. I think you've done some great things for your family. So, Jodi, if you could just take us back to kind of a real brief synopsis of how we met and where you were at that point and to today where you've come.
Okay. Well, we were at a point where my oldest son had suffered a lot of trauma when he was young in an orphanage for his first 2 years of life. And that trauma recycled when he became a teenager and in high school. It was really terrible. And so I was at a loss. I thought I was going to lose my son. My whole family was affected. I have 2 younger sons, so it was a terrible time. And we went to met with therapists, but they just didn't understand. They didn't get it. Nothing was changing. Nothing was helping us. So I did some research and I looked all over, and we're in Maryland, and found Eric and read things about him and reached out right away to Center for Victory and Eric, and he sent a response back, and we had to go through some things that we were on the same page. We understood what he was doing, what he did, and it was he actually really saved my family. I mean, we did a lot of work, and that's how I found him, and then came into our home, and so that's the background.
Where are you at today?
In a much better place. I mean, my son, who at that point, we met in early high school, but wasn't sure. He was a very bright person, and we did a reunion with his family in Romania. A lot of hard things, and Eric guided us through. And now he's ready to graduate from college. Wants to go into the Navy. Wants to do all these things. Has become very independent, and we're close. He talks to me all the time, calls all the time. Close to my husband, who's their relationship was really strained, and all that's been repaired. I mean, and there's always work to do, and always, it's a continuous thing. And they're at a tough age where they're pretty self-absorbed, so it's hard, but in those ways. But it's good if you understand what's going on.
Yeah, it's really helped your other two as well. Your 2 younger.
Yes, very much so, because not only the process we went through and how the relationship works doesn't only work for my son with trauma, but it works for all of us. We all can use that. So it's great.
Yeah. Next, talk about, before we start talking about like vision and goals that you've done, and you've done that for your family, and you've done a great job of pulling them together and getting them on board. Talk about, I call it parental regulation, or what, just helping you really relax the stress in your home, and how important, before setting vision, you can't think if you're all stressed out.
Right.
And you and your husband have both done this and continue to do it. How important was it for you and your husband to get centered and better connected before that happened to your kids? I mean, I think this is a message when we talk about vision for our kids as parents, that I would say, and I think you would agree with me, that most parents miss this point. Like, we want to stay stressed out as parents, but expect our kids to go, oh,
yeah.
And that's not the case. So tell us a little bit about how important that was for you and your husband to get centered and connected before it happened with your kids.
Well, for us to get centered and connected and be calm and not react as much, and not react to the behavior, but just take time and think about really what was the core issue going on with them, and to be calm. And sometimes that's not easy. It's really out of your comfort zone at first, because it's like, you don't know what to do, to just be calm. And the kids don't know what to do because they're so used to you reacting right away. And at first, that was really hard. And sometimes it's still hard. Sometimes I have to remind myself to not react. I mean, it's an ongoing process and work. And but when it is calm, then you can talk to them later and get through to them more. For example, my youngest son would always just blow up and just yell. And now when that happens, sometimes I react and I have to remind myself and I have to apologize, and I apologize to him. But he comes back, maybe within an hour or so, and always says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I acted that way. I didn't mean it. That's huge. That's huge. Otherwise we would just be at each other. And then Sean and I would be at each other and would cause more problems. Even us coming back together when we disagree has been huge. Fight, we would argue to go on for a long time. Now it doesn't, maybe, we're back together within an hour or two talking about it, which is great.
Yeah, that was the big thing, when I'm talking about how this relates to vision for the new year, is that you had that in your sights. You knew, both of you knew that you had to do that before you moved on to any other goals. You had to have that. And it's so important to bring that stress back off you. I mean, people run into the new year and it's all this stress. And many people, when they get into the new year, they're just fried already. And then they set these goals and they can't do it. For you, what that meant for your kids in setting vision was parental regulation first, then the relationships came, then some of these goals. Your oldest son, I mean, graduating college this year.
Right.
He's accepted is going to do some great things for our armed forces in the Navy. With that, I want you to talk to everybody about how you had to push yourself, and still to this day, I will say that I just have a lot of respect for you and your ability to push yourself outside your comfort zone considerably. Right.
Right. Yeah. Right. And also working on myself. That's a continuous process, and understanding my story and where I'm coming from, so I can better help my kids and understand them. And that was a big thing. And that's a continuous thing. And having those moments, those aha moments, as you call them, where, oh, now I see why I'm reacting that way, because it all connects. And continuously looking at myself and how I do things and how I think, and changing my whole thought process, being positive, thinking about what I want, telling them what I want, telling Sean, my husband, what I want instead of what I'm angry about is huge. And so, going back and repairing relationships is huge. When I do mess up, because I do, everybody does, and going back and saying I'm sorry to my kids also, and trying to model for them how to be regulated, and be calmer, and not let little things get to me. Like I always used to have everything everything put away. Now that can just wait, and just be in the moment more and be mindful. It's that mindfulness, and that's a continuous thing, and it's work. It's work. It's always work, but it's well worth the work.
Now, what was cool about what you did, Jodi, is once you started, plotting out your goals and your vision for yourself, what you wanted, it seemed like everybody else in the family slowly bought into that, but you didn't force them.
No.
You didn't force them, and they want to do it, and we are going to try to do that this year. We're going to try to go live for you guys down in Maryland when we do Vision Day here. So
that's my big vision board, and Luke did. I mean, Connor did one, my middle son and my youngest, and Michael, my oldest, he thinks he's got it all in his head. He says, so I don't know, but it is huge, and they see my board, so they see what I want. Yeah, and I tell them.
For those of you that tune in quite a bit to our podcast, you might recognize a name there, because we had one of Jodi's sons on just earlier this week on the podcast, and he was the young gentleman who had battled through Crohn's, and this is the super mom who got him through all that. She went out and made sure that he got healthy and all that. And I actually told your story today to a doctor. Jodi.
Oh, wow.
He was blown away and wanted to know more information. So thank you about that. But I just wanted to tell our people who view this and listen to this, some of the things that you've really done. And that's really where you've also pushed yourself considerably outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Go out and get a professional who would listen to you, who would actually take into account everything that was going on, and do that, which leads us to kind of our next question.
Mhm.
uh, you're very educated. I mean, you have lots of education in your background, and you decided long ago that you wanted to really go at it and be a mom, and there's a significance in that. And I would consider you one of the people that I know as a super mom, because you're the glue that holds everything together, literally, in that household. I mean, you've got lots of testosterone in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
house,
yeah, a lot.
and I know it's tough sometimes. How do you do that?
Well, sometimes I feel like the outsider, but I've kind of molded now to my humors, molded towards theirs. But I think whenever there is a problem, my faith is very strong. That's important. That's an important component. Working with you has helped immensely, I, for my whole family. But I think too, when I have a problem, like with Michael, when he was going through that, I researched. I had to find out, okay, what do we have to do, and what's the right help that we need. With Connor, with his Crohn's, I thought, okay, I don't want to put him on those heavy medicines. What can I do? What can I do to take care of this? And who do I need to help me? And I searched and found the right person who really helped us. And actually, just to add to that, we just went to his GI doctor to get all his and all his tests were repeated, and she was amazed. His inflammation levels have dropped so, like, over 700 points down. He's almost back to where he should be, where normal, which we have a little ways to go, but we're well on the track. He's gained 20 pounds since he was diagnosed with this, which is huge, because that means the inflammation's down. And she actually took the name of the nutritionist we work with, because she thinks it could help other patients. Asked me, what did I do? How do we do it? And I tried to explain to her what we did. It wasn't just diet, but it was just redoing his whole thing. So it was very scary, I have to say, taking on things like that. But one thing I can say about myself is I just jump in with both feet, and I'm diligent, and I just power through, because I do anything, kind of like a mama bear attitude, fight for my kids. And that's what I've done. And I guess really trying to also educate myself on all those things, like working with you and educating about the brain and how it works and behavior. And that was so informational. And about the nutrition piece with Connor, and how can we fix this? How can we, and my motto was to Connor always, I said, we'll kick Crohn's blank. We're going to do this. And even when I would get scared, I wouldn't show it to him. I would many times be worried that, okay, is this working? We didn't know, because you can't see what's going on in there, but you can see by how he's acting. So
One of the things I respect about you the most is you went after it, and there were people, just like there were people years and years ago telling me about how to raise kids and things like this. They came after and said, you're not doing it the right way. This is what you should be doing. You've had doctors tell you the same, but you saw that and you went after it. And you, even though those resources weren't available right at the tips of your fingers, you went after it and got it anyhow, and shared that vision. And like you did with your son, Connor, hey, we're going to kick Crohn's butt, and this is going to happen. I don't know how yet, but we're going to make it happen.
Yeah, and we did, and he bought in, which was huge, and was disciplined. And so that's what we did, and we worked really hard. And I mean, it's still we have to, for the rest, always he'll have to be cautious, but he's learned how to do that now, and that was a big part of it. And I kind of transformed everything for my whole family. We all had to change how we ate, because I can't cook separate for just one person. So it's helped all of us, actually. And
then you felt me too with that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's good. Yeah, it's.
I'll never forget one thing you said to me after the first time I stayed with you guys for that in-home. I worked with you and your family, and I was walking out, and you said, and I'll never forget it. You said, we have hope now.
Yeah.
Right. And that's always the greatest thing, or probably the greatest compliment somebody can give me, because I always have hope when I'm working with somebody, because without that, you don't have anything.
Right.
But for those listening, especially as you're going into the new year, a lot of us are in the winter. It's kind of dreary. I know it's dreary here today. For those that are listening and say, well, this can't happen to me, I can't turn it around, what would you say to them to give them hope?
I'd say it can happen, and and you have to be ready to do it. You have to be willing to put in the work and be dedicated to it. And you have to be willing to make mistakes and learn from them. And you have to be willing to rely on your feelings and love and just let that overpower and have faith. I mean, faith helps a lot. But you gave us so much hope, because nothing was working. Nothing was happening. We had some really hard times. It was hard on everyone. And I thought I was going to lose my son, at the point. But I held on to that hope and how you taught us how to communicate. And it really helped by Sean and I connecting first and being able to be together and rely on each other. That was huge, because it really helped a lot. And the kids, and letting them know that they can come to us about anything, and we're their parent, but we can listen and not, go crazy about things, and giving them strength. I think the strength to fight for your family was a good message to them, because you stay together, you fight, and you make choices to do that.
Yeah.
Not give up.
Yeah.
And so that was it.
If you could dive down, last thing, if you could dive down just another layer and speak specifically to all those other almost super moms out there. I know there's a lot of super moms. They're doing things out there and they just need some encouragement. I want you to speak directly to them right now listening. What would you say specifically to all those super moms out there to encourage them and give them hope?
Well, being a mom is a hard job, and it's really important. And we want to protect our children and do everything for them. But we have to let them mess up and learn from that. And we also have to, learning my why to create deep connections so the love and dedication and legacy continues. That's my why. And when I hold on to that, to keep those connections, it gives me the fire I need, even on bad days. And just to remember that and what I can do, and also to recharge. I'm very bad at that, allowing myself to have time to do things for me, but I'm getting better at that. And that really helps me to recharge and to have the energy. And one thing that you said to us that I always remember is to love without expecting anything in return, and to give without expecting anything in return. And that really helps. And sometimes to look past the behavior and think, okay, something's going on. Because as a mom, you get a lot of the, they come to, give you a lot of the flack and take it out on you, but that's because they know that you'll forgive them. So I think to remember that and to just keep going and don't let that worry and fear come over. And instead, think about what you want and keep that in the forefront and fight for that. Because if you want it, and you keep that in the front of your mind, like you say, Eric, that's your quote. Yep. That's what will happen.
Yep.
And to be mindful of that.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. And I'm sure who's ever listened to that, somebody's getting that nugget and taking it. And I hope that they continue to do that, because you can make it happen. Yes, it is tough sometimes. Right. We all have those tough times, but how do we get through it? And, I thought of you. I'm going to end with this quote by Michael Hyatt. And I thought of you when I wrote this down for this podcast, Jodi. It says, never limit your vision based on your current resources. And that's why I call you a super mom, because you went out there, you got it. When everybody told you can't do this or can't do that, you made it happen. You made it happen for your family, for your marriage, for your kids. And you set a great example of vision for them. And they'll ever be grateful for that, even though at times they're not. Yeah, exactly. But they will be, and I know they tell me probably more than they tell you guys.
Yeah.
They're very appreciative. But I really thank you for being on the show today. And that's it for today, guys. I want you to thank you, everybody, for watching and listening, and make sure you leave this video a like and leave a comment down in the comment section below. We'd also appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell icon to get notified when we post next. If you'd like more information, you can visit us at centerforvictory.com. And we always end with this quote. Remember, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, make this your best day yet. See you later.
Okay, thank you.